So without further ado, yeah, the Real Estate Mavericks takes pride in welcoming Mike Blum. So Mike, yeah, this is going to be an amazing interview here with a man who has an incredible career spanning decades, doing infrastructure improvements in Texas and Mexico, including, well, the bridge. And we're going to hop right into that. Welcome to the show, Mike.
You.
Wonderful. All right. So here we go. Um, we had a conversation just a little while ago. I mean, the the depth of your experience, 50 years across brokerage, planning infrastructure, and that's not something people get to hear every day. So, yeah, and you've been through different real estate cycles and been involved in very large scale projects. And the younger investors and everybody have got a lot to learn from the depth of your experience here today. So perhaps this could be the jumping off point where we can start at the beginning. Your journey into real estate and urban planning. How did you jump into this? And what was that like for you when you first got in?
Well, it's the beginning of that story is I was in the United States military
Oh,
from 69 to 71. I was right in the midst of the Vietnam War, and I joined the Army to avoid being drafted, and I signed up to go to officer candidate school. At the time, I was a graduate student. I had gotten my bachelor's degree in political science from Texas A&M, and I got accepted into graduate school for one semester uh, begin to get a degree in city planning. And after the first semester, Uncle Sam called, and so I joined the Army. Went to basic and advanced infantry training at Fort Polk, Louisiana, and then on to Fort Benning, Georgia, for officer candidate school. And 24 and a half weeks, and it was a 26-week program of the finest leadership training you can get in the world. Nixon
mm,
declared a reduction in force. And as a
mm,
result, I was given the opportunity to give up my military career, didn't have to go to Vietnam, and went back
mm.
to Texas A&M to finish my master's degree. And
Wow.
so that happened in 71. By 72, I was at Texas A&M back at the university, and an opportunity in my second or third semester of graduate school came up to go to Edinburgh, Texas to work as an intern, a graduate student intern in Edinburgh, Texas, working for the then Model City Agency. And that experience opened my eyes to a whole different universe. Uh,
Mm,
but also, it also opened the mayor's eyes and the city manager's eyes about my leadership skill, which I acquired in OCS. And so 60 days into my internship, which would have ended in December, and I would have gone back to A&M to get my last 12 hours or 6 hours. They made me the offer to become city planner as a
wow.
graduate student. Yeah. And so I
Nice.
became the city planner of Edinburgh, Texas in the summer or in the fall of 72, which was a life changing experience and put me on a path that I would never have imagined would have happened.
Right. Okay. Now, this maybe we could segue further down the road here as you gained incredible experience moving forward. Um, it's your involvement in the apex of your career, may I dare say, your involvement in getting the presidential permit for the Anzalduas Bridge, which took nearly a decade. Um, can you describe how that went for you, and what did that process teach you about persistence and navigating complexity in your
Well,
career doing urban planning and development?
it's a very convoluted story that began in the fall of 73. Uh, I was working on my master's degree. I became city planner of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
I mean of McAllen. And
Hmm.
as city planner of McAllen, I was thrust into doing a lot of things for a lot of different reasons. A lot of my time was spent on the economic development side of things. But somewhere along the way, 78, 79, my role as city planner morphed into working as an assistant city manager with the city of McAllen. And at some point in 79, I discovered I needed to get into a different arena from city government. And I decided to go off on my own and form a company called Michael J. Blum Company, consultant to the universe on anything I thought I was qualified to consult on. And economic development became one of those things. Between
Okay.
79 and 80, 81 or 82, I was engaged in a whole lot of economic development activity with the McAllen Economic Development Corporation, providing support and assistance to bring new manufacturing and new logistics services to the greater McAllen area. And in the course of doing that, was identified by some as a pretty knowledgeable person on economic development. And in 1988, many years later, I was nominated as the Volunteer Industrial Developer of the Year for the state of Texas at the Texas Southern Industrial Development Council, and I received that award. That
Right.
was an event in my life that transformed my life because it gave me the good housekeeping seal of approval, so much so that I discovered, I can sell economic development, but I just don't have any money. And so I formed a relationship with a local banker. I went to him with the idea of creating Michael J. Blum Company, a development services group, and that happened. And then a few months after Michael J. Blum Company got created, I got a visit from the chairman of the board of First City Bank, who came to town, and I was delegated to give him an opinion of what I thought we should be doing as a community and as a bank. And that turned into what is the name of your company? And I said, it's Michael J. Blum Company, a development services group. And he says, well, how about a development services group, First City Bank, a development services group, Michael J. Blum president. And I went, oh, well, that's different. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
want you to be a banker. I want you to do economic development. And I understand you have a relationship or developing a relationship with one oil company that owns a piece of land called the Sherry Plantation. Well, as it turned out, that was true. And a fellow by the name of Harry Shimotsu, who is a Japanese American, took me under his wing, took me on a road trip over the hill and through the woods to Grandma's house. We went down to the Rio Grande River in South Mission, Texas, where I as soon as I got my foot in the water, I went, oh my God, this is a location for a future international bridge. And I immediately went back to the city manager, told him what I had seen, and that started the process of me being in charge of going after a presidential permit in 1970, 1988, 88, 89.
Right.
It got going good by 1990. The Hunts had engaged me to do their master plan for their land, but the fee went to First City Bank because I was at that time engaged by the city, by the bank, and so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
became the lead dog in pursuing a presidential permit.
Mhm. All right. And what were some of the trials and tribulations on the way? It didn't happen
Well,
overnight.
the big trial and biggest trial and tribulation is that started in 1992.
Hmm.
By 1998, I had been to every place you could go within the federal government to get attention on the importance of what we call the Anzalduas Bridge in the greater McAllen Mission area, and it kept coming up against all manner of obstacles. But at some point in time, our congressman, then Ruben Hinojosa, had made a trip to Mexico City with President Clinton
Yeah.
to meet with President Zedillo, who was president of Mexico at the time. And as on their trip back, Clinton came out of his private space in Air Force One and asked Congressman Hinojosa, what can I do for you? You did a great job for me. What can I do? So you need to come to McAllen. You need to meet with the business community and understand the unique opportunities that exist in the greater McAllen area in the Rio Grande Valley. And we need your help to achieve a presidential permit. Well, I can do that, Clinton said. And so a few months later, that visit took place in McAllen, Texas. And I was one of 4 people that had a 5-minute speaking part to present to the president whatever it is our topic was. In my case, it was the importance of the Anzalduas Bridge to get a presidential lift, to get the permit, and the importance of getting interstate designation to Interstate 2 and Highway 69, which at the time, the Rio Grande Valley didn't have an interstate highway. We had state highways, we had federal highways, we didn't have an interstate highway. Big difference. Well, that trip to McAllen and my presentation manifest itself in a trip to Washington, D.C. 18 months later, where the presidential permit was handed off to the cities of McAllen, Mission, Hidalgo, and Granjeno, and I was in the room where it happened. I was in the room where it happened. Like the
Nice.
musical song, I was in the room where it happened. And
Okay.
the president came out of his executive office, and he walked the room to shake everybody's hands, and he got up to me, and I said, Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I said, you know, I was in McAllen a few months ago, and you came and I made a presentation about this project. Thank you for what you've done. He says, you know, I remember your presentation, and I remember the tie. Now, the coincidence is I was wearing the same suit and tie on purpose,
Okay.
not knowing that he would remember the tie. Well, it turned out he remembered the tie. And
Nice.
that was a aha moment in my life
Mm.
that, you know, I was in the room where it happened at the beginning, finding out where the bridge might be located, processing the presidential permit, doing all the things that had to happen between 92 and 98, having the private meeting with him in McAllen, and then culminating in a Roosevelt Room presentation. And now we got the permit. Now, the permit was approved in 99. Construction did not finish. The bridge didn't open until 2007.
Oh, seven. Yeah, long
Oh,
time frame, but
07. And
eventually it happened.
it opened for business in 09. And
Okay.
we're now in 2026, and they're just about to open the cargo bridge.
Well, it's a process. How did that
It's an
one project
unbelievable process.
ripple? How did that ripple into other opportunities in real estate afterwards and during? And what has that meant to the economy in
Well,
southern
it
Texas?
rippled in my case, it made huge manifestations because I became the broker of record for the Shareland Plantation to market industrial property to anybody who wanted to buy industrial property in the then growing McAllen Economic Development Corporation, McAllen Far Trade Zone area. And we attracted major corporate investors that wanted to come and build facilities in McAllen. And I was in the catbird seat to be able to do that, both on a selling side and as a brokerage on a brokerage side. Because by then I got my license, I became a real estate broker, and I was actively involved with a large construction company that was focused on doing design, build, construct facilities. And so
Hmm.
I was in the right place, right time. As I said before, I was in the room where it happened.
Nice. So, uh, Mr. Bloom, you've seen multiple real estate cycles. Uh, how have markets like South Texas and northern Mexico evolved over time, and what have some of these cycles look like, and how do they compare with what we're going through right now? Kind of a
Well,
deeper question.
the early the late 80s, early 90s, there's a lot going on in the foreign trade zone area by sheer volume of activity. The NAFTA had not yet happened. North American Free Trade Agreement had not happened. It didn't happen until 94.
Yeah,
But the die had been cast, and
yeah.
the activity of cross-border trade had already taken shape. And we were in a unique position, regionally speaking, and I'm talking now Brownsville to Roma Rio Grande City, the whole southern uh, border with Matamoros and Reynosa, Tamaulipas, and the state of Tamaulipas. We were in a unique position to attract major manufacturers and logistics companies that wanted to make things in Mexico and import them into the United States. At the same time, the city of FAR had opened their bridge, and they became the number one port of entry for agricultural products coming in from Mexico and other parts of Latin America. The two in combination created a center of gravity to attract major exporters of or importers of foreign product into the United States from Mexico and Latin America, and the valley was destined to become a center port.
So that's yeah, and that development. What other ancillary development has occurred from that too? I mean, you get direct relationships there, but the tertiary types of development when a
Well,
project like this one.
the most important part is when I started these conversations, we had two bridges. We had the Hidalgo Bridge in Hidalgo, and we had the bridge in Brownsville, Texas. Since then, there's been 13 bridges built between Brownsville and Roma Rio Grande City. And the
Oh,
number one cargo bridge is the FAR Bridge. But there's a bridge in Donna, Texas. There's a bridge at Los Indios, which serves Harlingen. And there's other ancillary bridges across the region that provide a mechanism for cross border cross border people and cross border logistics to move product back and forth. We also have a little thing called SpaceX, which happened kind of on the other end of the calendar here. But SpaceX,
yeah,
we got 13 ports of entry, but we got one spaceport, and we got the Brownsville port shipping, big shipping operation in the port of Brownsville.
yeah,
All of which add to the U.S. economy and its ability to provide a competitive platform for all manner of things.
right, right. Yes, yes, yes. So, uh, what? Yeah, when you're working on long-term infrastructure or development projects, what separates success from failure? It's the basic question of all on these. What is it? What did you do? How did you do it? What separates success from failure on these?
I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that, but my short answer is you got to be prepared. You got to be prepared to go in multiple different directions simultaneously and take
Oh,
advantage of opportunities as they come along. I was fortunate in having had both the military training, officer candidate school training, leadership skills training, working with the city, working with the Hunts, being engaged in a land planning exercise that led to the master planning of the Shareland Plantation. I was in the room where it happened in many occasions over the course of 53 years, and it's hard to put a specific answer to your question, except you got to be prepared to do whatever needs to be done. And fortunately, I had the skill set to make that happen.
hmm. What what, in your opinion here, what are mistakes that you might be seeing in younger developers that they might be making today that you've already lived through, and some advice that you could give for younger developers?
Ooh, that was that's a that's a loaded question that I
It's an
would
important
I,
question. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah yeah again, if you're a novice and you don't really know what you don't know, it's hard to be ready for the next opportunity. But my short answer is you got to be prepared to move in multiple directions simultaneously.
Right.
You
Okay. Okay.
got to
Thank you.
you got to build a team of people who you have confidence in that can take you in whatever direction you got to go.
Hmm. Oh, I mean, you mentioned real estate. It isn't all a bed of roses here. what is one of the toughest challenges you faced, and how did you push through it?
Oh, you just keep asking these tough
I,
questions.
I, with your kind of experience, I gotta ask them here. And I,
Well,
yeah,
the political decisions on the U.S. side
yeah,
take a different form than they do perhaps on the Mexican side. So, and in this case, you have multiple jurisdictions:
right.
Brownsville, Harlingen, San Benito, Westlaco, Mercedes, McAllen, Mission, Hidalgo, Granado, uh, and other small communities in between, City of FAR. Everybody's got their own set of rules, and not everybody plays by the same set of rules. So you have to be able to manage the political process and engage the political leadership and try to get everybody in the same boat, rowing in the same direction.
Okay, right. Oh, and what kind of mindset does that require? Yeah, how
Flexibility.
do you flexibility? Yes, yes. Okay. Simply said, and simply said, but hard to achieve. But you have achieved that. You said something powerful in our last conversation. You were in the get prepared business. What does being truly prepared look like in real estate today?
Well, understand the marketplace,
Hmm.
understand the tools that you have at your own disposal, all of which are critically important. Uh,
Mhm.
and I can't be more specific than that.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. And how can younger professionals actually apply that today? It's a mindset. It's
Mindset.
yeah. Any comments
Any
on that?
comments on that? Well, not everybody has the privilege of having attended officer candidate school, where you
Mhm.
learn the act of leadership. It's not learned in a book; it's learned by doing. And I had the privilege of
Mhm.
attending officer candidate school, which is the finest leadership training program that the United States offers. And I'm not talking about just Army leadership training at a military level. It's a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
brand of how do you get things done? How do you take the hill? How do you command troops to go take the hill? I didn't have to
Mhm.
do
Mhm.
that, but I learned the art of having to ask how to ask the question and how to get things done. And right place, right time, right background, right
Yeah,
education. They all played a
yeah.
part.
And from that experience, not everybody does get to go to, that type of advanced military leadership training and schooling, best in the world. But it sounds to me like one recommendation would be, get that leadership training. Get that leadership training either on the job or part of the job or before you take that job that's being offered or before you start your own company. Um, there we go.
Yep.
So yeah. Well, I'm curious. Today we're seeing more AI and data-driven tools entering real estate. It seems almost a requirement. And we have a situation where last year Morgan Stanley, through their work and research, what they discussed was that a company that does not have AI embedded into their whole system is probably worth up to 25% less than a company that does have that technology embedded within the company. That's just one part of it here. I mean, it's AI seems to be coming at us every day. Um, from your perspective, how important is it for today's developers and brokers to adapt to these tools? Have we gone too far with that?
Well,
What's your perspective?
speaking of you, speaking to you as a nearly 80-year-old.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll be 80 in June, and
Yeah.
my very first cell phone did not have AOL on it. There was no cell phone communication that was internet driven. It was a big, heavy, big phone in your hand that was wired to be able to talk. She couldn't do
Yeah.
anything except talk. In my lifetime, in this arena that we're in, we've migrated from phones that you could talk on to phones that you could communicate with electronically via text or email. And now, using AI technology, uh, I can create a master plan of a piece of real estate literally on the fly. And all I got to do is call up ChatGPT, give them an image of the site, and describe what I want to see. And within nanoseconds, I've got a land plan that may not be the land plan, but it's at least a way to market property that someone looking at a piece of real estate can go, oh, I can do that. Or I being a buyer, I can take that plan and go, yeah, I can convert that into a $25 million sale.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
it has
Powerful.
completely changed how I market real estate.
Wow. Um, do you think technology like AI can help with things like market analysis, which it's already doing, planning, or even decision making?
There
Um,
is no question in my mind that the power of AI and it's the speed of its ability to adapt is it's mind numbing and it's scary because you don't know what the next thing is. But I use it every day.
got it. Got it. Okay. Um, where do you think the balance is between experience, hard earned, takes time, and it's what makes our lives? What's the balance between experience and technology here?
I don't know that I'm smart
That's
enough
a
to answer that question.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know if I can't answer it either. It's part of our lives now. I mean, personally, and I'm asking the questions here, but I don't want it taking over my family life, Mike. You know, um, yeah. Any comments on that?
It's just it's very difficult to answer the question because it's too theoretical. I have experienced life in over these 53 years that I've been hanging around here in the valley, and witnessed unbelievable transformation. And we're just beginning to see the potential. Who would have believed? Who would have believed we would have rockets flying in outer space from Brownsville, Texas,
Right.
and the
Mm.
spaceship coming back to Brownsville, Texas, to get caught, literally caught, uh, before it crashed into the ocean. Uh, in my lifetime, I never. I'm a child of John F. Kennedy. I was at the Rice Stadium in 1962 when he pronounced, "We're going to put a man on the moon and go beyond that in this
Yeah.
decade." I was there. I was a high school senior, and me and my high school buddies were let out of school to go listen to John Kennedy talk about putting the
Huh.
man on the moon. And 2 weeks later, he was dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And right. Well, you know, uh, Mr. Bloom here. A big part of our audience, they're younger professionals looking for mentorship. And if you were starting again today in today's world, what would you focus on? What should they avoid?
Find someone you can connect to,
Mm.
find someone you can mentor with, and who's willing to be your mentor. I'm a strong believer in entrepreneurship, but I'm also a strong believer in being mentored by someone who knows more than you do.
Yes.
I'm I've been around long enough to know I'm smarter than your average puppy dog, and at my age, I've got a little bit to offer most anybody, and my door is always open.
Nice. Nice. All right. And looking back on your career here, what are you most proud of?
Well, what am I? I guess I'm most proud of having been successful in what I've done. Having a stake in the creation of the Anzalduas Bridge, the presidential permit, having participated in the development of the Sharyland plantation and all the things that came from it, having been a recipient of the Video Award, the state of Texas as the Volunteer Industrial Developer of the Year. Each of these doors was a room I opened the door in, and I was
Mhm.
in the room where it happened. I keep going back to that because my whole story is about rooms that had a door on it, and I had to open the door. And I was fortunate to have enough skill and training that I was able to open that door and get in and accomplish things that needed to be accomplished that maybe not everybody else could have done.
Nice. Michael Blum. Yes. Mike, this has been incredible. There's so much depth in your experience, and several hours would probably be required just to touch on it. And especially appreciate your discussions on, long-term thinking and being prepared, uh, which you've done throughout your career, and that really stands out. And I guess for our audience here, Michael, where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you today?
Mike B at stx-cre.com is my email address. A cell phone is
Righto.
956-451-5596. Or you can find me at our NAISTX website.
Michael Blum, thank you. Thank you so much for the podcast today. Appreciate you jumping on here, and very, very best of luck to you, sir, with moving forward with your health and with future success for you too. So thank you, sir.
You bet. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome. All right. Very good. Okay, that's a wrap there. And thank you so much, Mike. That
You
was
bet.
just and all I can say is it was just touching the surface here. So, um, but
You did a
I'm
pretty good
kind of
job.
oh, thank you. All right. I do the best I can to ask a challenging question now and then. And, um, the detail about the bridge probably deserves several hours of discussion because it can really help people understand at a much deeper level exactly what it takes to push through an important project that may bring the type of development that's really going to change an area, which it did, which what you did changed the
In
whole
my case,
region
it
there.
was in my case having the instinct. It was literally an instinct. When Harry Shimotsu took me on the drive over the woods and through the dale to grandmother's house, we went. We dropped to the, we got across to the southern tip of the Sharyland plantation, and we were at the river. And it was instantaneous. It was just an instantaneous gut reaction. We were in exactly the right location for a future international bridge. I went straight back to the city manager and told him what I discovered. And then we looked at it on a map and we both said, aha, that is the place. And that started both the
Hmm.
negotiation with the Hunts on providing a site where the bridge could be built and then donating the land on which the bridge could be built and then donating land on which the border station could be built. And that all happened before a presidential permit application was submitted.
Hmm. So you went with your gut on this. I mean, you used your
Totally.
experience, obviously, but you went with your
Totally.
gut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, nice, nice. All right. Well, Mike, we're going to send off the Zoom snippets here, the excerpts, and then the whole podcast as well. And we'll look forward to having you give some comments on the snippets that we send, and your take on mentorship. That's really important these days. A lot of the younger people are getting mentored online, and to transfer the knowledge and experience to the next generation, which I'm trying to do. I'm 67, as you know, so I guess I'm the youngster in the room, but you know mentoring people that I know and with my experience, it's important these days.